Disney's live-action remake of Peter Pan has hit Disney+. Where does it fall on the Hot Pockets to hand grenade spectrum? So, this Peter Pan remake is actually interesting because, unlike many other of the Disney live-action remakes, this one had its own story to tell, and it changed a lot of elements from the original Peter Pan animation from back in 1953. And it's actually quite enjoyable. It's a fun ride. The story is a little more in your face about, like, not growing up and not being scared of change and the changes of growing up than the original animated feature. But that just sort of happens when this one actually tells, like, a more straightforward story when the other one just felt like an acid trip. But yeah, the story is pretty much Wendy is getting sent out to boarding school, and Peter Pan then proceeds to kidnap her. This never have I seen a movie just blatantly admit that Peter Pan is a psychotic motherfucker. Unlike this one, it's kind of crazy because he's always been, like, subtly psychotic. In this movie, they just admit it, and I think that's kind of interesting. But the story gets a hand grenade score from me because it's enjoyable. The points get a little bit preachy, but it's fun. The cinematics, on the other hand, is probably the best part of this film, and there is no debate about it. It looks fantastic most of the time, which really makes you wonder, was this ever supposed to be theatrically released? Because it looks like it has quite the budget, but it was pushed to streaming for reasons that I don't fully understand. Like, it's pretty solid adaptation and a remake. It's not just like a cheap copy paste like Beauty and the Beast, but it also, like, felt lively, unlike the Lion King. I think it's just because Peter Pan is a bit of a character to chat about nowadays. But the cinematics, it's very enjoyable. It was really funny how just randomly there would be, like, slow motion sequences. But yeah, hand grenade score on cinematics. The directing was pretty solid. It maybe could have been a little bit shorter, but I don't know if that's really the director's fault. But, like, it did feel like maybe 5-ish minutes too long, which kind of, you can feel it due to the fact that it did feel a little dragged out. But yeah, Hot Pocket score on the directing. Now, the acting. I think the characters of Captain Hook, portrayed by Jude Law, and the character of Wendy, portrayed by Ever Anderson, were really well done. But I don't know, like, their acting was on par, but I also think that what they were given to do with their roles was also really good. Like, they were given some momentum and some, like, room to interpret their characters, and were given a lot of good material to work with. Unlike poor Alexander Maloney, Peter Pan was not very interesting, and the only interesting part about him is the fact that they finally admit that he's a psychotic freak. And unfortunately, that leaves Peter Pan sidelined for a good chunk of the film. And honestly, my one complaint with this film is we have a film called Hook. We have Peter Pan. This one legitimately should have just been called Wendy. And it probably would be a little better off for it, as Peter Pan is kind of a non-factor in this film. But yeah, the performances were good, were pretty good. Unfortunately, like, a good chunk of the cast didn't really have much to do, so a Hot Pocket score there, just due to the fact that, due to two performances is enough to carry, especially when one of the weaker ones was the titular character. But now let's get into my expectations and experience. I wasn't expecting much, and honestly, while I was watching it, I was like, this reminds me of a different film. And I just couldn't put my finger on it because, like, the setting and the feel of it all was, like, familiar to me, and I didn't remember why. And then just randomly, near the end, like, near the beginning of the third act, it finally hit me. I was getting major Narnia vibes from this film due to how, like, it was visually, the story of, like, not really wanting to grow up, never wanting to leave. It's interesting how this one felt more like Narnia than the Peter Pan one. But to be fair, this one had, like, a story, unlike the original animated feature that really felt like just a sequence of events and not necessarily an overarching narrative. And it's even funnier to think about because on Disney Plus right now, I'm looking at it, and having just finished it, it says The Jungle Book, Pete's Dragon, A Wrinkle in Time, and then Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe as suggested to view after having seen Peter Pan and Wendy. So my expectations, I have to admit, I was enjoying it a lot more than I expected to, but then there were a few moments that just sort of lost me, and due to the fact that it felt a little bit prolonged at times. And honestly, my main issue with this is the fact that Jude Law's Captain Hook was not wearing the signature red coat the whole film. Honestly, I'm going to have to deduct some points there, and it's a little unfortunate. But it was, other than that, fairly enjoyable. That'll be a Hot Pocket score from me. And this film thus makes it a certified Hot Pocket movie. Another one for the books. Like, it's enjoyable. You'll have it when it's there. This is very much a turn on in the background kind of movie. Like, you just need some noise, and every once in a while, like, it'll catch your eye, and you'll be like, ooh, that's cool. That's nice. And that's pretty much what this film is. So, like, subscribe if you enjoyed. Comment down below if you are planning on witnessing Peter Pan and Wendy on Disney Plus, since all it costs is your time. But other than that, I'll leave you guys to it.